Apparently everyone in the community is now hook camping. I guess that's the thing now. So mission accomplished, I guess, is what's going on here. Good, good, good. Yeah, lo and behold, guys. I had smudges on my glasses, actively making me stupider, lowering my IQ, so I had to clean my glasses. As it turns out, apparently, Tru has started noticing that, well, he has been for like maybe the last month and a half, has started noticing that SWFs are OP, so instead of bitching about gen speed, he's now actually starting to notice SWFs. It's not specifically SWFs, as we've mentioned before, guys. It is highly coordinated and organized SWFs. So people that have highly verbose voice comms, like esports voice comms, are the ones that absolutely destroy the game. Well, lo and behold, he started making a big deal of this, and apparently there are survivor mains that aren't very happy with that, because they enjoy jacking off in their survivor groups and absolutely shitting all over killers like the game's balanced for it. Which is hilarious. So someone made a YouTube video I think maybe we'll take a look at. It's basically the drama in the community right now, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I point this out for like fucking 5 months ago. Literally when I started playing Killer. Not literally right when. It took me like a couple weeks to figure it out. Well, it doesn't matter. Also, there's a lot of fans going on right now, guys, so if you're hearing that. That's what's going on. I believe there's drama. Misses. All this shit's happening when I'm basically not streaming. I don't fucking understand this shit. So everyone's hook camping now. Here it is. Ah. Maybe I should just change my game category here just to get ample coverage. Since we're talking about Dead by Daylight for a little bit here. Let's take a look at this.
Hey guys, Scott here. This is mostly meant as kind of a video for True Talent, specifically. I would like to do this in sort of like a live debate form, because I always really find that entertaining. But I think I've seen on his stream a couple times he's not super into the idea of doing it. If I'm wrong, please shut me up and let's do it. Because
He generally doesn't like anyone. So, Tru is a very smart guy. That being said, he also uses fallacious logic a lot and circular logic, where he'll actually say that you can't think something because it's not logical. But in fact, you can be logical in your own mind, but it doesn't actually appear logical to other people. So, just because you're logical does not mean you have God's talent logic. It doesn't mean that you have, like, you reach into the metaverse and pull out the core of knowledge from the universe. It doesn't work that way. Even if you're being logical, oftentimes people come to flawed conclusions based on flawed logic. It happens all the time. But he'll talk about how people are being illogical and how he's completely logical and therefore has like this like third eye view of the universe. And it's just basically self-perpetuating one of those things. So that being said, I'm not against Tru. Tru's a very smart guy, as I mentioned. But I honestly want to see what this guy says. Just like the hair and everything, he's just going to straight up. This is good stuff. But this is the current drama in the DVD community right now.
But I thought I would just record it like this. I get it. We're both very.
But there's no way Tru would ever take anyone seriously in his chat. Like he'd immediately just like squelch him and like shove him out. So you can't have an active debate in this guy's chat. It doesn't work. I watch him not so much anymore. When I was starting to play Killer, I watched him quite a bit because he's pretty good at it. And he'll oftentimes explain what he's doing. That being said, a lot of the stuff that I've learned from being a killer wasn't stuff that you could learn from other people's streams. I found like always pushing people outside, for instance, is very important, but no one talks about that. Either that or I'm the only one that does it.
Stubborn. So perhaps two brick walls smashing into each other for an hour. I understand why you don't want to do it, so it's totally fine. That's why I thought I would make this video as sort of a direct message to you. And it's something that you can respond to as well, or ignore it, tell me to fuck off, whatever. I just want to air it because I also want to address the mindset that you have, because it's something that, you know, your viewers tend to share. Content creators tend to rub off on their viewers. That's just how it happens. So I do want this to be available to more than just you. And it's about the whole your view on Survivor.
Or they shape and condition their community till they have what they want. It has nothing to do with rubbing off as much as punishing and brainwashing.
With friends. Basically, all this came about. Your suggestion for nerfing Survive with Friends at all is making gens take longer if you're in a Survive with Friends.
That I don't agree with, by the way. It's going to make the game absolutely boring. I've heard about this before. He talks about an action debuff, which basically amounts to you, like, stuff you do in the game taking longer, and that would make the game super monotonous. Like, when I've talked about nerfing SWF, we refer to, not SWF, like, basically red rank SWF, so, like, the super hardcore ones, is removing perks based on the number of people in the group. So you get 2 perks if you're in 2s, you get 1 perk if you're in 3s, and if you're in 4s, you get no perks, which is actually still very balanced, considering you have all the intel perks in the game on at all times over voice comms. It's actually pretty... It's relatively fair. That being said, Tru oftentimes goes at this by saying an action debuff, which actually makes sense if you have people pounding gens, right? But it's not going to be fun. And I guess it'd probably be fair. This is a lot of like brute force balancing. I'm not a fan of brute force balancing because it does work, but it also is very gaulish, I guess you could say. It's very, very crude and honestly, like, not enjoyable.
Friends group, and I think that's
which is why I
really
didn't suggest just making generators take longer, because then it turns into this goddamn fucking retarded grind where you just sit there and just pound the thing constantly, and it's just not doing anything.
Idea, and luckily it seems like most of the community agrees that that's not the best way to do it. The way I do it as
Also, keep in mind, guys, most of the community is all right with streamers having 3,000 people and being in a highly coordinated SWF. So there is a little bit of bias here against killers, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that people perceive killers in a video game as like this entity, like this horrible, horrible entity that's super OP because they're a killer, right? Because they're like in the RP aspect of it, when in fact you talk about game balance, it has nothing to do with them being a killer and a survivor. Like, besides namesake, it's 2 different sides of a coin that you're trying to balance out. And like, I think there's a misconception a lot of times in the community that people believe that killers are just innately OP because they're killers, right? They kill things, and that's not the way video games work, because this is video games, not real life.
I would, buff solo queue to the level of, Survive with Friends. Well, maybe...
And there's also a misconception, or not misconception. Tru oftentimes goes at this the wrong way. Well, he won't explain why SWF is OP, and at the same time, he won't stipulate that SWF isn't OP in and of itself. You got SWFs, and then you have SWFs and voice comms, and then you have esports ready SWFs, voice comm sweat squads, and they're completely different from just like rando friends just grouping together, just chilling out. And they just completely destroy the game. And there's no way of dealing with that as a killer in any way, shape, or form. And that's the problem with the game. It's not, and even sometimes there's like all different sorts of in between, right? But the moment you start scaling up with information, it just goes super OP as far as power level goes.
Survive with Friends back a little bit in some way, but you would give the killer more information. Like you would make it so the killer can tell who would, but Survive with Friends, well, maybe bring Survive with Friends back a little bit in some way, but you would give the killer more information. Like you would make it so the killer can tell who is in a Survive with Friends before the lobby starts. That way he might put on a spicier.
That's a bad idea because you'll get people that'll dodge the queue. We've talked about this before. And if you tell people that's a SWF, you can do this two different ways, though. You could potentially make it so you have the option, as a killer, you have an option of turning on the ability to see if it's a Survivor Friend squad before the game starts. But then if you dodge it, you'll get hit with a penalty. So, like, you can make an informed decision, but you can also opt out of that mindset, right? And that's important because if you got a casual guy here that just doesn't give a shit, he's just like, whatever, man. He's not going to want to see it beforehand. And as such, he could leave and it wouldn't matter. But, like, it kind of puts you into a scenario where you're actually restricted to staying in the game. Whereas a normal player could actually just dodge a game and it wouldn't matter at all. Like a normal killer that doesn't have it turned on.
Build stronger add-ons. He might not fuck around. He'll know that you'll know more information. Just give the killer some information as well, right? But, there is a whole debate on how to handle that. And we could talk about that for hours. But the thing you suggested, making gens simply take longer if you're in a group, I think is a really bad way to go about doing it.
Gens, so it's
and
everything.
I want to go over that with examples of why that is not a good idea. So let's
make
look
the game
at
boring.
this match. I picked two matches.
That's actually a term a lot of people use. It'd make the game very, very monotonous, not boring. So very, very grindy. It feels like you're doing nothing, just sitting on a gen the entire time, which wouldn't be fun.
Your last stream, or last two streams. I picked matches that you lost because, no offense, that is when you would tend to air your grievances about Survive with Friends the most. So it's the most applicable to this topic because this is when you're talking about Survive with Friends.
Is he just going to spend the next 10 minutes here trying to tear apart matches rather than assaulting the argument? So he's no longer actually talking about the argument. He's just talking about a couple matches that he picked out. Oh, this isn't going to go very well.
Your game delay and gens take longer if you're in a group to this match. So I'm not going to go and critique your performance in the entire match. No one wants to hear that.
No one does.
But
it kind of seems like that's
match,
what you're doing.
It took them 12 minutes to do all the generators. Let's say we do like a 10% debuff for Survive with Friends like you're suggesting. I don't know what number exactly you're suggesting, but let's say we do that. That would basically be 10%, 8, and then 5. So 40 seconds of additional time, right? So 12 minutes versus 12 minutes and 40 seconds.
What? 10% of 12 minutes would be at least an additional minute and 20 seconds, right? You move a decimal, although you can't do seconds that way. Yeah, so it'd be 1.2 minutes. Which would be 1 minute and 10 seconds-ish. Yeah, when you start going to seconds, it gets weird because seconds is based off base 60, and decimal is based off base 100, right? So the conversion's different. Okay.
That would be basically the difference. But the thing is, though, at the end of this match, you still had like 5 or 6 hooks with all the gens done. 40 additional seconds.
No, it wouldn't even be that, because 2 minutes broken down 10%. 10% of 2 minutes would be 12 seconds. Yeah, so it'd be 1 minute and 12 seconds.
It's not going to do anything for you. If you're going to lose the match, typically 40 seconds is not going to really change that much.
His math is already wrong, but on top of that, he's only talking about 10%. for an SWF, a 4-man SWF, if you're talking about action debuff, it'd probably be more in line with like 50%.
The reason you lost this match is you played like shit. And that's not to say you're a shit player or anything like that. Everyone has bad games. No one is ever meant to be a perfect player. That's ridiculous. That's not even a realistic thing. But you did play like shit this game. You missed a lot of blinks, A lot of chases just ended without downs. You kicked a lot of gens. You made a lot of mistakes this game, and that's why.
So
you
he's
lost.
not even talking about
Because
SWF aspect
the
of
end
this
of the
anymore.
day,
He's just
if you
talking
have a
about him being
12-minute
bad. So this
match-
is an ad hominem. This is where he's attacking the character and his ability to actually talk about what he's talking about. He's basically downplaying. He's trying to discredit him, and based on his gameplay. So he doesn't have the ability. He doesn't have the respect to talk about this stuff anymore because he's not a good killer. At least in these matches, it wasn't a good killer, which obviously doesn't apply to the other matches, and that's the reason that we picked. That's totally not the reason we picked it out. And hum num 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 num. And hum num 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 num. There's a nice little chart here. Text characteristics of authority of the writer without addressing the substance of the argument. So basically, he's just saying he's a bad killer, and it has nothing to do with the fact he's playing against the Survivor friends. Good.
As nurse with Rune, Tinkerer, Pop, and Corrupt, and you don't kill everybody, you played badly. That's it. There's pretty much no example, even if it's a Survivor, even if it's a competitive.
This guy's a moron. We're just going to go out there right now. This guy is a Survivor main, I assume? I don't know, because I don't watch his shit. But if you played against some highly coordinated Survivor friend squads, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way you can do anything against them. You just have someone kite, and the moment you hook someone, if you don't hook camp them, they'll have someone already ready to get the person off the hook while you're just teleporting away as a nurse, for instance. Nurse is someone that doesn't apply a whole lot of map pressure, meaning that she can move around really fast, but that's only in a small area. She can't move across the map really fast, where Wraith, for instance, can move across the map insanely fast. But once again, he loses a lot of his ability because when you play against the SWF, for instance, a sweaty voice comm squad, when you play against a sweaty voice comm squad, the moment someone sees you, they'll announce where you're going. The worst games as SWF we've had is where the only person you'll ever see is a looper, and the moment you go towards a generator, they'll have the person get off the generator before you ever get there, and when you get there, you'll either find no one at the generator that's currently being worked on, or you'll find scratch marks that are basically already ready to fade away. And you'll usually see them go behind a fence, and then they'll disappear. So they run away from the immediate vicinity of the generator, and then they walk the rest of the way. So you have no idea where the fuck they went. And that's very, very difficult to deal with, because if they're doing that appropriately and they're making appropriate calls, because basically everyone's a scout, because they're using a hive mind, because they're on voice comms with each other, using esports voice comm callouts, there's no fucking way you can catch up with that. And like this guy's like making his statement about just what his perks and him being a bad killer. Yeah, no.
Competitive pro team. The only reason they last long enough to survive against Nurse is because the match doesn't last long enough for that to really matter. So I feel like I just have to say that. If you have a 12-minute match as Nurse and everyone's not dead, it's because you played badly. And again, that's okay. But
yeah, no, this guy's also being passive-aggressive.
You had something to do with it specifically. It's not necessarily survive with friends or anything like that. So in this scenario, if there was 40 more seconds added to the end of the match because you penalized everyone for playing in a group.
Not 40 seconds once again.
You would still be in the same spot. You might get one more hook. At the end of the day, you still lost the game. You would have still lost. So it's just a net loss for everybody.
So this guy is basically saying Survivor Friends has no bearing whatsoever on the game, and it's just because of his skill. That is not true in any way, shape, or form whatsoever.
Had to sit, do the least fun thing in the game more, which is just sit on gens and repair them. So they're mad. You still lost the game, so you're still upset. No one's happier in this scenario.
When it comes down to repair time, guys, let's imagine it's not linear. So the relationship between people sitting on a generator, so we talked about a minute and 20, a minute and 12 extra seconds. That doesn't include the 40 seconds. When it gets, we're being correct here. What's 10% of 40 seconds? Is this 4? Yeah, it's just 4 because it's base 6. So a minute and 16 seconds of additional time over the course of the entire match, which doesn't include the amount of time that they're at generators. That includes everything, including chases and regression time. If you're talking about that, when it comes down to a generator, it's not just the generator itself. The generator itself regresses the moment someone gets off of it, and that means their work time, the amount of time in real life that they're spending on a generator, greatly increases because they have to go back for the regression time. They have to go back for the amount of time that it's regressing. And it's not the same. It's not just a linear relationship where, oh, you're not on the gen, oh, you're on the gen, it's 10%, it's 10% more time on the gen itself, because when you get off of the gen, the amount of time that you have to spend on the gen is greatly increased. So the more time you're off the gen, it's not really multiplicative, but it goes up. It's like logarithmic.
Didn't actually do anything. And I think that's kind of the problem here. And this is a bit more of a personal topic, at least with you as a streamer. In these scenarios, I don't think you set a really good example for having a good mindset on the game, because in examples like this, at
He's
the
not
end of
even
the
talking about
video,
SWF
you
anymore.
accuse them of being a
It's
Survive with Friends group. You say they're a high caliber Survive with Friends group. So even if we had all of that game delay stuff, and it obviously it wouldn't have mattered because you still would have lost this game. But you keep saying this is a high caliber Survive with Friends, but I checked. They weren't a Survive with Friends. I added 2 people. They were both solos. There was a group of 2. There was a duo, the 2 Russian players. And
what? How the fuck would he figure out if they're Survivor friends? He asked them? Do you know how many times, guys, we've been told that they're SWF when I've asserted or accused them of being an SWF? Twice, and one was a drunk group. So, what? How did he come by this information that these guys are not a SWF?
And one of them was on console and just started playing the game, and April 23rd was their first trophy on their PSN account. So they have 2 months in the game. These are not top tier.
What? Because you need to play more than 2 months in order to get really good at the game, or playing with friends? And friends, as we mentioned before, coordination and organization in SWFs has nothing to do with personal skill. You can be the world's worst potato, and what you do is it comes down to strategy and tactics. It doesn't come down to personal skill and how well you loop. It comes down to strategy and tactics, and you can just make a perpendicular line to something on the map. Let's say the gens are on this side of the map. You have someone that runs perpendicular to that, and they'll run across the map and do every single pallet and run to a corner without being able to loop a goddamn bit. And it doesn't fucking matter, because the moment they get to that, they basically create a shitload of distance between them and their friends that are safely working on the gens basically all the way across the map. It has nothing to do with skill in any way, shape, or form. It's about organization, coordination, I guess strategy is skill, right? Strategy and tactics is a skill. But it's not something you see in solos, because solos amounts to you pointing at someone. That's basically it, and head nodding. That's literally what solo communication involves when you're playing with a single person. That's why, in terms of power, you have the solo player, you have a solo player that's really good at looping, an SWF, and then the killer, and they're basically pretty close together. And then you'll have an SWF that talks in voice comms, and then you have esports voice comm SWF way over here in the corner. And there's no way that you can get anywhere close to their gameplay, because it comes down to the fact that the game was never balanced around voice comms. It wasn't balanced around esports voice comms. That's why there is a bajillion perks in the game and that give you intel. And on top of that, those intel perks aren't on all the game. So when you're using voice comms, you have 80% of the perks on in the game at all times. And then you have 4 handicap perks on top of it. You have 4 handicap perks on top of the fact that you have all the intel perks in the game. Like, this is why it's kind of bad, and I feel bad that Tru basically represents the anti-SWF squad right now, because it's not SWFs, it's sweaty voice comm squads, esports ready voice comms, and it's the fact that he doesn't talk about what makes sweaty esports voice comms so fucking OP. He just says they're OP, and he doesn't talk about coordination or organization. Maybe that's because that's too close to what I talk about. He just infers that they're really OP, but he doesn't actually mention why they're OP and talk specifically about what makes them OP. And it's organization and coordination. It's something you do not get. Let's say in an SWF squad, guys, you're running, good morning, Ooze. In an SWF squad, you're going towards a gen, not an SWF, solo game. A killer's going towards a gen. He's in a chase with someone, but there's no indicator in the bottom left here that someone's hurt or that they're being chased. You can't figure it out because you don't know. So the terror radius is coming towards you, and you think the person's checking your gen, but you don't know. So you're going to be highly alert as to whether or not they're coming over to you. And then you may even get off the gen, depending on what kind of survivor you are. You might even get off the gen and attempt to hide, or sit in a corner, or attempt to flee, or do something otherwise, like you're going to change your play style. But when you're in an SWF, when you're in a sweaty voice comm squad, you have person A that will radio into the hive mind and tell everyone in the squad that he is in a chase with killer B. Everyone immediately knows where the killer is, knows where the killer is going, knows who he's in the chase with, knows where they are on the map, and can organize around that. And then if he's about to go down, they'll radio into voice comms and say, I'm about to go down, or that someone should come over here. And then you'll get person B that's closer to the killer that'll immediately come over to the radius to get ready to off-hook the guy. And they prey on the idea that killers will immediately leave the hook. That's why they hate hook campers so much. They prey on the idea that a killer will immediately leave the hook. You'll just go across the map and you'll continue on, like round robin, right? Fair gameplay. And they'll immediately off-hook the guy on the hook, and then they'll run away. So there's no downtime. It's being completely efficient with what they're doing. using strategy, using tactics, being organized and coordinated is not something that you get in solo. We've played hundreds of hours in solo survivors, and I didn't even know this was a problem until I played Killer, which was earlier this year. I didn't even know this was a problem until I started playing Killer in February. And it's a pretty big deal. It's not the normal squads. It's when you run to this is the whole reason we hook camp. This is because we run into the shitters, the SWFs sweat squads, not the normal ones, but the voice comm sweat squads. And they play in a completely different manner. And then you'll start getting things where people will take block hits for someone. They'll get people with the really sweaty squads. You'll have someone that will sit around a corner and trade for the people or whatever it's called. No, for the people is above. The one that gives you a hell state. They'll trade a hell state with the person as they're going around the corner. They'll trade a hell state with this guy while sitting in the corner. You'll never see him. In games with carries, you'll get people that will do scratch mark replacement, where you have two people intersect in a corner, and then they'll go like this. The guy will go around the corner, and then the other guy will run out around the corner and try to take over the guy's chase if he's a better looper. You'll have people that will take protection hits, and then they'll run off and do a healing orgy, which is something you can't get in solos most of the time, which is why SWF voice-comm sweat squads will always poo-poo on self-care because they always can radio into HQ to ask for aid. They can ask for a triage tent. And that's not something you see in solos. You're lucky if you end up in a healing orgy in solos, but it definitely does not happen in voice-comm sweats or in solos. It's not like the triage tent doesn't normally happen in solos. But like the sweatiest groups we've seen, we've had people sit on corners with, what is it called? It makes you broken. And you'll never see him, so there's no risk to the guy that's using it. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's for the people. I got it right. It was for the people. As a guess. I don't know what the one is which increases the efficiency of people within a certain radius. Yeah, it's like 15%. Prove thyself. There it is. Prove thyself. And once again, many perks in this game are not designed around hardcore coordination because it absolutely breaks him. Prove thyself is a perk that's all right until you get in a Survivor Friend squad and you have 3 people running around with the guy with Prove thyself, and all of a sudden it becomes pretty fucking powerful. And then on top of it, you also have you'll have someone that's a dedicated looper, so people won't even go into the game with any items because they don't need it. And you'll have someone with a plunder build with which is all right if you're playing alone. Like, you would literally have to dish out the items to people in the game. So, like, Tru does not explain this shit. The guy we're listening to right now is just bitching about Tru being unskilled. Neither of these guys are addressing what makes them super fucking OP. So you'll have someone in a game, let's imagine, with a plunder build. Someone that has a looting build designed to get high-level items. That only matters if you can get them to the players. And the players need to know where they are. The information that you convey over voice comms drastically changes how that works, because you just go, hey, radio into HQ here. We have a 411 just sitting over here at the squad. We have a purple med kit just sitting down here by Gen 2 in the barn, just over. And then someone says, Roger 412, I'm coming over to pick it up. And then they'll swap places. And you should come over here and fill this gen. You'll have people that tap gens the moment you leave. You'll have people that have people on voice comms that'll radio in to tap gens that weren't even part of the original chase. So if you can imagine a cluster of 2 people here working the gen, working fucking and pounding this gen, DPing this gen here, you scare both of them off, and then you down one over here, and the other guy's still running off over here. You have the third party come over here around the backside, and he fucking taps the gen, or he finishes the gen. Yeah. Oh, SWF doesn't matter. I'm telling you right now, SWF doesn't matter. Yeah, you don't get that shit in solo because this third party here doesn't know what the fuck's happening over here. He has no idea because that's knowledge that you gain through voice comms. It's not something that's normal. Pretty big deal. And occasionally you have intel perks. There's a lot of intel perks in the game that tell you what health state people are in. They tell you where people are on the map. They tell you how close they are to getting up on the ground. There's no perks in the game that tell you if someone's exhausted. So learning what if someone's in an exhausted state or if their exhaust is up is a perk that doesn't even exist and exists on voice comms because you're literally radioing to your friends that you're ready to dead hard. There's a pretty big difference here, and this guy's a fucking moron because all he's doing is basically addressing his skill. That's it. This entire thing to him is his personal skill. And Tru, smarter than that, but still not addressing what makes SWF super sweaty. Like in the time that I've watched him play against them, he's just like they're broken, but then never explains why. Like what I'm doing right now, he doesn't explain why they're broken. And it is the organization and coordination that SWF, specifically sweaty voice comm SWFs bring to the game. It's not something that's normal. It's not something you'll ever encounter playing solo Survivor. And I don't know if this guy plays Survivor a lot or what, but if you're playing a normal game, and it's really apparent when you start playing the late morning hours, like I said, about 4 to 8 a.m., which is why we have the banner up there in the top of corners to denote what time of day I'm playing at. When you have about the 4 to 8 a.m., depending on when you're playing, once again, weekend games are much more lax than weekday games when you have the degenerates playing, because that's the only people that are up to 4 to 8 a.m., it changes the game a lot. And they really need to add MMR to the game because this wouldn't even be an argument at this point. It would be completely unfun. And for it being broken for the time being, it would be completely unfun. But it would eventually teach people like what's going on in this game. And this guy's just assaulting Tru's skill. He's just saying, oh, he's a bad nurse, and that's why he lost the games. And it doesn't even talk about SWF as an argument. It doesn't look at SWF. It just looks at Tru's personal skill. So once again, going back here, attacks the characteristics or authority of the writer without addressing the substance of the argument. This is where we're at right now. This is it, guys. We're down here. Name calling is you're bad, and I mean he's oscillating between ad hominems and name calling. So yeah, this is a pretty good pyramid, by the way, that is relatively balanced in how it tells you what someone's doing. And ad hominems are very, like, you'll still get name calling online, but oftentimes people have evolved to ad hominems at this point, which is just, oh, you aren't capable of talking about that because you don't have XYZ. You don't have enough hours. You don't have the rank. You don't have the cosmetic item. Yeah, there's lots of weird shit that can fall under ad hominems where someone just basically goes after authority rather than actually going after the argument itself, and he's doing that right now. And he looks cheeky as fuck talking about this, but that's literally what he's doing. He's not even bothering with what we're talking about here, which is how intermingling perks that are not designed to work together just absolutely breaks the game. If I was pyramid sexual, I would marry it. They had a torture device like that, if I recall. Like a pyramid thing for women that were floozies. With fucking Dark Ages, we're literally the Dark Ages. None of this shit made sense. Everyone's drinking out of lead pipes and fucking morons. It's amazing that we got out of the Dark Ages. Eating paint chips and drinking their poisoned well water. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing we got out of it. We ended up in the Dark Ages after, like, the Roman Empire. That's pretty crazy. Like, Rome existed, what, 2000? It's like 2000 BC. And then we ended up in the Dark Ages. But then we got out with the Renaissance era, so I guess that's all right. But anyways, unrelated, but once again, it comes down here to coordinating and organizing. Coordination and organization is what breaks SWFs. Even then, if you just have an SWF of really good players that we know perform well together, generally it's like in other games, for instance, generally it's still pretty powerful, right? If you have a bunch of people that are really good at looping, it's going to be pretty powerful. But it's still not what breaks Dead by Daylight. What breaks Dead by Daylight is exactly like organizing around Plunder's instinct, around a plunder build, even Object of Obsession. There's one where if you're around the radius of someone, you get like a buff for haste. But you have to be around, it's like a really bad perk. It's around an obsession. And I've seen people run it, and the only way you can run it is if you're in an SWF. That's the only way. Right here. When you're the obsession are injured, you both see each other's aura. After healing obsession or being healed by the obsession, you both gain the haste stats effect, moving at an increased speed of 7% until you're no longer within 16 meters of each other. There's no fucking way that anyone would ever use this perk in solos. There's no way. This is such a terrible perk, because basically you're shackling yourself to a moron that may just go and run around the map, and you basically do nothing. However, when you are in an SWF with an organized and coordinated squad, it makes this incredibly powerful because you basically just gain 7%. A lot of these perks stack with each other too. So 7% on top of For the People, or For the People. Nope, not For the People. Prove thyself. Along with prove thyself, and then you get even more repair speed. A lot of this stuff is very broken because the developers do not expect people to be highly coordinated and organized. That's what breaks. That's what breaks the game. It's not just SWF. It's not just people playing together. It's not even good people playing together. It's when they use voice comms and become highly coordinated and organized. And as I mentioned before, when you have people that actively cock block you and come in for protection hits on someone that you're in a chase with, and then they run off and immediately get healed up by the rest of their group. Yeah, it starts adding perspective to what's going on here. And this guy has no perspective in any way, shape, or form. So he either plays against a bunch of derps or he just plays Survivor.
High caliber teams in a 4-man Survive with Friends. This is just a normal game of DBD, and you played like shit.
Yeah, so he's literally just going for ad hominems
here. The mindset you have to immediately say that, you tend.
So he cherry picks a single game. In this case, he cherry picks a single game. Let's say this guy plays like shit. We aren't even going to bother looking at the footage. Let's say that Tru plays like shit in this game, and then he says his argument is invalid because he played like shit in this one game. So any killer in Day by Daylight, any killer in any Survivor Friends squad that plays against each other in Dead by Daylight, if they think SWF is OP, is because the killer's shit.
I tend to diminish my arguments quite a bit by saying I don't understand because I don't go against the teams that you do. I do. You just overestimate the people that you're going against. One of them literally had 3 months in the game, and it was just 2 solos and then a 2-man. This
and
is
once
not
again, he
a
has no way
crazy
to
match
prove
of
that
DBD. This is
in any way,
pretty
shape, or
normal.
form.
But you tend to drum it up a bit, and your chat says, wow, Survive with Friends OP, because you say that. You say, oh, look, they're body
Survivor
blocking
Friend
at the end.
is
They must
OP
be Survive with
exactly
Friends.
for the reason it's nothing to do with his game. It has everything to do with what we just talked about right here. And we have some games that are pretty, like they'll start doing stuff like body blocking for the friends if you're hook camping too. I'm sure he's encountered this, right? They'll start body blocking for their friends and making sure that everyone gets out with the health state. They'll start min-maxing. We wrote an entire post on this on Reddit. They'll start min-maxing who gets left behind. So if someone's going to die for a hook trade at the end of the match, they'll make sure it's the person with the most hooks for a couple different reasons. 1, it's punishment for the guy that got hooked the most by the shitty killer. 2, it's to make sure people with eerie medals in the match, so if they've never gotten hooked once, escape with the most points possible. And 3, it's to make sure the killer gets as few points as humanly possible. That's only stuff that you can possibly remotely do in a voice comms SWF. And this guy right here, apparently it doesn't matter.
And it leads to this echo chamber effect where you just...
He apparently has no way... Like, I love when people use terms like echo chamber, but they aren't smart enough to actually realize what they're talking about. That's crazy. It's like people that watch... I refer to as like bone psychology. So it's people that like watch Bones as like a television series, and then they hear something on it, and then they're like think it applies to everything that's being talked about. And yeah. So he's not even actually talking about what makes SWF strong or not strong in this case. He's just saying that he's shit. This is basically just an attack on character. This is a character assassination. It has nothing to do with him actually referring to what's making SWF strong. Specifically, voice comm sweat squad strong.
All keep telling each other Survivor Friends OP. They're super high caliber esports pro squads. God, one of your guys in your chat said that. I don't even think you'd agree with that. But like, you contribute to it a little bit, and I think that's not a good attitude to have. Sometimes taking it too far in the other direction,
why don't you just be a nicer killer? Why are you so mean, Tru? Why are you a mean killer? Why don't you just go and be a nice sportsman-like killer? Yeah, this is just a game, man. It's always just a game when you're trying to take the high ground. Like, this guy's trying to take the moral high ground. Once again, not even discussing SWF anymore. He's literally just trying to attack his character.
Western behavior. Sometimes I excuse things that are clearly problems with the game because I just don't care that much. It's a video game.
No, a lot of it has to do with also being on the right side of the community. We've talked about this before with Twitch, completely outside of Dead by Daylight. If you're doing something like hook camping, for instance, that is looked down upon by community, a lot of it has to do with like your viewer numbers. A lot of it has to do with pandering to the community, right? A lot of it has to do with telling people exactly what they want to hear. And if hook camping is looked down upon, and SWF is generally, you can stream with 3,000 people watching you in Dead by Daylight while being part of a sweaty voice comm squad, and none of the viewers bat an eye, yeah, that probably leads to some sort of bias going on here. So, yeah.
And that's not the best idea either. But I think I would prefer that, and I think most people would prefer that, rather than just blaming Survive with Friends and, everyone's like a top-tier player, instead of just admitting you kind of made some mistakes.
It has nothing to do with being a top-tier player. We've just talked about this, guys. Sweaty voice comm squads and doing well in a sweaty voice comm squad has nothing, almost nothing to do with personal skill. What makes sweaty voice comm squads so powerful is organization and coordination. That is not something you get in the remotest sense in solo squads. The best you can do is use Kindred or Spine Chill, right? You don't even need those perks when you're in an SWF. You'll still see SWFs use Spine Chill, for instance. And the reason for that is if there's a contested generator or they're in a scenario where someone's going to come over to their generator, they want to make sure that they can sit on the generator to the last possible instance, or if their friends are not verbose enough on voice comms. So just saying it's not binary. It's not voice comms on, voice comms off. It's not esports voice comms, no esports voice comms. There is various levels in between, just like with skill. There's various levels in between in which people will reside on here. And you can't always count on your friends if you're part of a SWF to tell you the information you need to know. So you need to come up with the information yourself. The sweatiest squads that we see, for instance, won't even run any perks like that. You'll see them running Decisive Strike, Dead Hard, and Borrowed Time. And the reason for that is because it makes you take 4 additional hits if you're getting off the hook. Yeah. So it's basically like 3 additional hits if you're getting off the hook. It's 3 additional health states from off the hook. So if a killer's on someone and they get off the hook, they get Borrowed Time, which is a sprint burst. We're even putting that aside. Borrowed Time, which is a sprint burst. So they sprint burst out of there if they're still getting tunneled, and the killer's about to swipe at them, and they'll use their Dead Hard. That's another strike right there. So they just healed for 2 additional health states. They'll Decisive Strike, and then they'll Decisive Strike if they end up on the ground. And Decisive Strike not only is basically a free hit where you get back up, it's a free health state, you also get a 5-second stun on top of it. It is incredibly punishing to killers, which is why the sweatiest squads will run those 3 perks. It's the triad, and we always talk about it on my channel. That's the triad. Those 3 perks in particular, because when they're chained together, makes you very, very powerful. And then you'll see the carry running something like Iron Will. So carry being someone that's not very good at the game, but they can mouse 1. So you'll see a carry running Iron Will. So if they're hurt, it'll be more difficult to find them. You'll see their anchor, which will have Unbreakable. And sometimes you'll get a kind of a cheeky build with an anchor with Unbreakable and then like Soul Guard or something. You'll drop another one of the perks. You'll also get people with like a locker build for like head on. Now the head on is not nearly as good as Decisive Strike because someone can just go into a locker and then Decisive Strike a killer that pulls them out because you can't swipe someone out of a locker for whatever reason. So you're forced to take a Decisive Strike hit. As I mentioned before, you'll have specialized build, like the looter build. You'll have someone that'll literally just loot shit. That's all they'll do. The entire game is just outfit the entire team with the best possible loot. And because they can have someone just run around and get loot for people. Yeah. It is incredibly, incredibly powerful. It's not specifically solo gameplays. It's not just having a rando in a squad. Like, this guy thinks that a SWF basically consists of just a bunch of people that are good at the game being in the game together. That's not what makes a team. A team has nothing to do. Well, it has, personal skill matters, right? In a team, it does matter. In this game, I'd say it very much matters a lot less than in other games, like in Overwatch, where a solo player can carry. In Dead by Daylight, it actually works the opposite direction, where if you have someone that's just innately really good, but is bad at teamwork, it won't be good at all. Like flashlight clickers, I tell you guys immediately to ignore flashlight clickers, because if someone's clicking a flashlight at you, they're doing gens, and that means that they're basically dead weight on their team. But you'll get a looper that is so full of themselves, that's so egotistical, that they'll sit there and constantly try to take your attention, constantly flashlight click at you. They'll do it the entire game, and all you have to do is ignore them, or maybe give them a little bit of like, you're getting antagonized by that, so like take a swipe at them or something, but not actually go after them. They'll do it the entire game, and then you focus their carries, and upon focusing their carries, it makes them start doing more and more stupid shit, because they want to be the one, they want to be in that limelight of being in the chase for 5 minutes in a game, right? They want to be the savior of their game, but instead, it just leads to a scenario in which they're basically the dead weight on their team because they aren't doing anything. Yeah, and it's an inverse relationship, whereas in a game like Overwatch, for instance, if you have a solo player that's really good, it helps out immensely, right? In this game, if you're really good, the killer can simply go to another person, and then it immediately depletes your ability to being good at the game, right? So if we talk about carries and loopers in the game all the time, carry being someone or a queen. In the rare case you find a queen, that's very powerful, very OP. We talk about queens and loopers and carries. And loopers and carries, you always go after the carry. If you see a looper, you see someone trying to get your attention, generally you should ignore them, at least until this becomes commonplace in the community where people realize that you can stand in the open and it looks like you're a looper when in fact you're just a really bad player. And we occasionally run into people that are just really fucking bad and they're sending out the wrong signals. But loopers will sit there and they'll just like jack off in the open, or they'll slow walk in front of you like they're not paying attention to get your attention. And then you basically just go after someone else, especially people that are hiding in corners trying to hide behind trees. you'll go after them. Because once again, you're assaulting the weakest link in the hierarchy of survivors. And in doing so, it takes a lot of steam out of the game. So you have someone at the top here who's a looper, but their skill only matters as much as the bottom person when it comes to a gen by mouse 1. They both can mouse 1 the same amount, and it doesn't matter how skilled they are. Maybe they'll hit great checks, which maybe they will. But if they do shit like that, usually they mess up. So like mediocre survivors will always just go for a normal skill check because you never mess those up, right? Which amounts to gen regression time, but you'll get like good survivors that'll try to go for the great skill checks. But anyways, when you take one survivor out of the game, that's one mouse 1 gen out of the game. That slows their entire team gen progression by 25% just by removing that one shackle from the game. So if you have a stack here of survivors of low skill to high skill, you go after the lowest skill first, you knock them out, they're down 25% of their team's progression. It doesn't matter how good they are, they're probably not going to get out when they're 3-gen'd at the end of the game. It's just the way the game works. It's using strategy and tactics. And these guys, well, maybe not so much true, but this guy, for instance, here thinks it's all about skill. And it's not. This isn't Overwatch. You can be a looper, you can be as good as you humanly want to be. But if you're depending on these other 3 people in your team, which is why coordination and organization means so much in the game, because you get these 3 people, all 4 of them organized and coordinated with each other and on the same page, there's nothing you can do about it because the game was never meant to deal with that.
Because in this scenario, they weren't survivor friends.
But this guy's just attacking his character. That's all he's doing.
Like, I don't think you're going out of your way to lie. I don't think you're going, I'm going to trick my viewers. I'm going to say this is a 4-man pro squad. I don't think you're doing that. I don't think you're a bad person or anything like that.
It's actually kind of weird because he never talked about this before. So I've been watching Tru, as I mentioned before. Not so much anymore, but when I first started playing the game, I watched him a lot because he gave a lot of helpful information for playing a killer. I didn't watch him until I played killer. I watched Pug when I was playing Survivor a lot. But Tru plays both killer and Survivor, and he's already at Survivor, but I enjoy watching his killer much more. And I watch him because he gives very verbose information. He did not talk about SWFs in the way that he's been talking about them recently, up until a month ago. This is why we talked about this before, because I've been talking about this for the last 5 months. Well, basically, I've progressed from like a normal killer to a hook camper, and the reasoning and the rationale for doing so. We talked about this for the last 5 months, and it's only now starting to catch on. And so he's inferring that he has like some sort of devious agenda. What is his motivation here? Like, what is it? I mean, maybe generating some more publicity for himself, but like he's inferring that he wants his community to turn into like these anti-SWFs. Like, what is the purpose of that?
I think you introduce the possibility that it is a Survive with Friends by mentioning Survive with Friends quite a bit, and then you don't really correct it. You just sort of let it sit, and then your chat does the rest for you. And I don't know, man, it makes me
so
sound...
correcting, talking about it more. Okay, I mentioned that before, where he doesn't actually talk about why SWF is more powerful, but correcting it would infer that he's always wrong when he talks about SWF. So once again, yeah, no. So
when I see that, because you didn't lose this game because of Survive with Friends. You lost because you played bad. That's it.
Therefore, every game in which there's an SWF, they obviously aren't powerful. Because this one game in which he picked, he's now applying retroactively to all of Tru's games. Because this one, this is why we talked about this. He even said he wasn't going to do this, and he's doing this right now. He said at the beginning of the video he wasn't going to nitpick and tear this apart, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. And like, this is not how you talk about like an overarching subject, like what I just talked about here with Decisive Strike and chaining together 3 perks, talking about strategy and tactics, and instead he's just saying that he's a bad killer, and that's apparently applied to every single one of Tru's games, is he's just a bad killer. And that's why SWFs are powerful, is because he's a bad killer. He even said at the beginning, SWFs aren't powerful, it just comes down to how bad the killer is. That's not true at all. SWFs, specifically voice comm squads, have various levels along our spectrum here, how powerful they are. Just because you're a good solo player does not mean you're good at teamwork. We've talked about that before. You can be really good in Overwatch as a solo player, but that doesn't mean you work well with the team. I mean, it's way in sports, with every sort of competitive activity is the same thing, where you have to work together. They teach you that shit all the time. For instance, in not even related to video games, when I was in college, a big part of the coding courses I took was teamwork, is working together with people. Because what they found out was, even if you're an incredibly talented programmer, if you can't work together to people, you're basically fucking dead weight. Because if you can't work together, then you can't coordinate with everyone else, and then you have people that constantly have to spend time adapting your work or correcting your work. And then, of course, you end up with all sorts of conflicts between people and egos where they can't actually intermingle with each other. We've talked about this over the years. This is very popular where people can't actually mesh well with each other. It's very important when you're part of a team working on coding that you're capable of working with other members of that team and being capable of producing a piece of work that, everyone can work on. Which is also why they tell you all the time to make sure you document all your work. Because if you don't, then you decide to leave the company, then you just end up with a bunch of spaghetti code and no one has any idea what it does, and you have to spend a bunch of time tearing it apart.
Only possible explanation. Even if this was a God squad, you still should have won in 12 minutes. And again, that's okay.
No, that doesn't mean he should have won in 12 minutes. If it was a God squad, let's imagine that they're really good. Even if he's really good at playing nurse, you can have people that are ready to immediately heal up. You can have people managing gens. You can have people managing chases. You can exchange. We had one group, guys. We have it highlighted. They lost. We 4K'd them. Arguably lost. They still ended up with really high scores. We had one group that was so organized, I was trying to tunnel them. They forced me to round robin their entire group. 12 hooks over the course of the entire fucking match. Forced me to round robin them. And they could not actually, they exchanged hook states with each other constantly and forced me to take chases with people that had the least number of hooks. They forced me as survivors to not tunnel. That's something very difficult to do, where they basically turned it into a position where either I would end up in a very, very, very disadvantageous chase. I'd end up in a very disadvantageous chase if I attempted to chase someone for a prolonged period of time. And they would give me, they'd attempt to block me constantly if I was going after the one person. So I'd have to fight my way through 2 different survivors that would immediately heal Orgy up. 3 survivors to immediately heal Orgy up just to reach that one at the top. And they weren't really that great at looping. But it doesn't fucking matter. Skill in this game means so little comparatively to teamwork that it's pretty incredible. And there's people like this that still think it's... Jesus, this guy just looks like he's fucking crazy. This is ridiculous.
Having bad games is fine. Everyone has bad games, but at least
and he's just summing up his personal skill.
And, try to
once this is a hallmark of an ad hominem here,
you
guys.
Make mistakes a lot, but a lot of the time when you get beaten and people in chat call you out, hey, watch the VOD, go over your mistakes, you are really sarcastic and you scoff at it like, how could I?
So the reason you do this, if I guess maybe this guy's new to Twitch, the reason you do that is because you literally spend your entire fucking stream going over replays. We've done this before. I've done this when I talk about cheating. And when I talk about cheating, I go, nope, that's done. We're moving on because it's not my job. It is not my job as a streamer or as a person to find out if someone's cheating. I'll report them and then I'll move on with my life. That's it. That's where it ends. Because there is a time and place for where you pick your battles. And I guess this guy's young, dumb, and full of, put your favorite word there, young and dumb, but picking your battles is very important because otherwise you spend your entire life fighting stuff that has no meaning whatsoever. I don't care. If I report someone in a game, maybe I'll go back and look at the footage. It depends on how easily I can do it and whether or not it's very apparent. But I'm not going to spend 30 minutes going over a game, the entire length of the game, or longer, an hour going over a game. I used to do this back when I played H1Z1 and shit. I'd spend an hour just going over footage with people, and at the end of that, people won't even agree with you. It doesn't matter if you show people where the weird shit is. They'll just go, no. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. I guess, like I said, maybe this guy's just young. But yeah, it doesn't help anyone out. Then they're sour, you're sour, the stream's sour, you lose viewers, and you just look bad. So, yeah, no. I perfectly understand why he doesn't do that, because I wouldn't fucking do that either. It doesn't make sense as a streamer.
600 hours, yeah, okay, sure, it's my fault. You answer it like that. It's just a dick way to answer it. Just don't do that. I will say, as I mentioned before, Tru constantly thinks he's right on everything. There's a little bit of God complex, and once again, logically referring to things even if you use logic, your logic can be flawed. Using logic does not infer you have God to your logic, where logic is always correct. You can come up with flawed logic, and it could be right in your mind, and it could sound right where it follows a path. That doesn't mean it reaches a conclusion that's right. So, I mean, that's part of it too. We talked about this before. He doesn't always, and he oftentimes infers that he's just always right regardless, and that's not really the correct mindset to take, but yeah, it comes with ego. This is the way it goes. Good morning, Casey. Possible you made mistakes, just say that. And you have admitted that you made mistakes.
And this, by the way, is a popular thing. Admit when you're wrong. No one admits when they're wrong. Because when you admit when you're wrong, what people do is they just walk all over you. And then they think you're wrong all the time. This guy is sane because this guy had one bad game. This guy is sane because this guy had one bad game. that all of his games where he loses SWFs is just because he's bad. This is what this guy's inferring. And he's sticking to it. And he's not even addressing, like, going over perks, going over reasons and rationale of why SW is overpowered, why it's powerful. Instead, he's just continually attacking his game.
Mistakes before, and that's great. But I have seen you scoff on more than one occasion when you make a lot of mistakes. And I don't know, man, it's just like...
Everyone has to do it. It's part of literally being, like, anyone that's asserting any sort of power or dominance. Everyone has their weasel words. Everyone has a way of getting around stuff. Because otherwise you spend an inordinate amount of time talking about stuff that no one really cares about except for that one guy in chat that's just... Like, it literally just sounds like this guy, only this guy has a face and a voice box, apparently.
This doesn't seem like a good attitude to spread to people. I'm not going to tell you how to...
Now he's once again attacking his character and just making him look bad. He's uncouth because of his behavior here. This isn't because of SWF anymore, guys. It's literally because he's a bad person.
On your stream or anything like that, but it just seems like... I don't know. It just seems like not a good way to do it. So let's go over.
Like I mentioned before, he's actually a really good killer.
I think
I learned a lot from him. He's not always right, but that goes with everyone. We talked about this before, and especially when you get popular, the more people that you have, the more people you have watching you. Just ego, hubris grows, right? That's what we prey on. That's literally, we talked about this before. The worst groups for me to go against, guys, are those high-level purples that are they're coordinated and organized in voice comms, but they aren't good enough at the game to actually attempt to make plays. Like, they'll just literally hide and creep around the map and coordinate with each other, and they're incredibly difficult to go against because they're literally not overextending at all, which is what you should be. Whereas we can go against Reds, and we'll do better against them because they try to make plays, and that's what we capitalize on. Hook capitalizes on people trying to make plays. So it's disproportional. The higher skilled people become, the better I do against them, and it has a lot to do with the way that I play, and it's not something you see pretty much in any other game. It doesn't work that way because purples, just getting on voice comms, just coordinating with people on voice comms, innately makes you much more powerful. And we talked about this, and I mentioned before, this kind of makes me feel bad because Tru is he doesn't do a really good job of explaining what makes voice comm sweat squads so OP. He just talks about SWFs, and it's not SWFs. It's not SWS, it's not the people who adjust on voice comms, it's esports ready voice comm squads that are highly coordinated and organized. And even then, there's various levels in between there. You just climb the power scale. Just super powerful.
This is that match that you had. You were playing Plague on Thompson House. And this is more, I think, accurate to what you're talking about. Because this was a 4-man Survivor Friends, and they were good. This was a very good team. So your complaints here are actually making a lot more sense. The thing is, though, if you watch this match, you still make a shit ton of mistakes in this one, too. You...
Once again, attacking character instead of attacking what he's talking about, his argument. And it looks like my desktop just crashed.
You call a long wall short wall, a god palette at one point. You respect a 360.
He's literally doing what he said he wasn't going to do at the beginning of the game, which is literally just nitpicking. There's actually a name for this now. I hate when people, by the way, if you're arguing with people online, this becomes more prominent. But I absolutely hate when people will nitpick about little things that you're saying and not actually look at your overall argument. And then they'll just say, oh, because he used the wrong... This is like someone attacking grammar in an argument. Like low-hanging fruit. Anyone that attacks grammar usually does not have an argument, by the way. If they're looking after your grammar, your spelling, your punctuation, and it's not usually punctuation, they usually go after grammar, like the grammar Nazis. They won't usually go after punctuation, because usually there's punctuations fucked up too. Like, they'll go after this shit because they don't have an argument, because they don't actually know what they're talking about, and instead they're just looking to nitpick about little tiny things, and they think that actually... Overall, just no, SWFs are not powerful because... So, if we're using this guy's logic right here, SWFs are not good, or like they don't matter, because he called a god palette when it actually wasn't, because it was part of a short wall. Like, what? Okay. Yeah, that totally relates to SWFs.
So hard that you just let her run away and get to a palette. Like, you do a lot of mistakes in this match. But, to your credit, this is a very, very good team. I didn't really see any weak links here. So this is more applicable to what you're talking about. This is where, apply that penalty, right?
But he's once again not talking about what makes him powerful and what in the game that's happening. We talk about this when this stuff's actively happening in the game. What makes him powerful, what they're doing that makes him powerful, and how it gives a huge advantage to being in a voice comm squad.
But again, in this match, you didn't get a single hook with all the gens done. If you had 40 seconds on top of that.
And once again, if you're in a very good game, it doesn't matter how good you are as a killer because they'll stop you from getting hooks. You'll get, like, protection hits. You'll get people, and in the worst cases, you'll get people with scratch mark replacement. or someone will actually walk over the top of someone else's tracks. Like we talked about scratch mark drop-in, where people drop in and they'll run out while someone goes around the corner, and they'll try and distract you. Like they'll try and take over the person's scratch marks, but then you also have someone walk and someone run past where the person is to act like they're running there. Like they'll also, it's kind of like a planned scratch mark replacement. There's all different sorts of shit you can do in the game. We summed it up in the Reddit post that I made a week or so ago. Summed up a lot of the stuff that they're doing in a Reddit post. It's not just, oh, hey, look, the gens are done. You had 6 minutes. You should. What is that? Like hooks per minute? So apparently, it does not matter on the skill of the survivors. Does not matter about how organized they are. So protection hits. So someone running in front of you and body blocking. It doesn't matter how well they're doing. We've mentioned this before. One of the reasons I do things like hook camp is because in a game like this, where you're playing against super sweaty squads, you'll end up with 2 gens left, or 3 gens left. Usually 2 gens left. And the game's basically done at that point. All they have to do is finish 2 gens, someone comes in and unhooks that guy, they chase you around, the gate's open, and then they have people exchange body block hits for the guy to get out the door. Yeah. So, I don't know why he's like just inferring that no matter what, you're just going to get a bunch of hooks. This guy's not... He's not the brightest crayon in the box, sharpest crayon in the box. Sharpness of crayons doesn't matter though. You can make drawings with dull crayons, right? But you love those vibrant colors.
What does that do? You just lose 40 seconds later. It doesn't change anything. So I think addressing Survive with Friends like that, you're not really fixing the problem. You're just...
And he said action debuff, it doesn't just apply to generators. For instance, healing. Because if you get into a healing orgy, that's very powerful, and it's not something you run into in solo squads most of the time, which is why self-care is still important. Why you'll see streamers like Hexy talk about self-care being powerful. And the reason he talks about self-care being powerful is because when you're a solo player and you aren't part of a homie squad, there are moments when self-care is very clutch because you can't find anyone to heal you. You can run around a lot, and you can chalk that up as time waste, so you can look at opportunity costs. If you have self-care and you're running a self-care perk, it takes longer. It doubles the amount of time it takes to heal yourself, right? But then you look at the amount of time you would otherwise spend running around the match looking for someone to find to heal you, and then you weigh and balance these. I still ran self-care, even hundreds of hours into Survivor, I was still running self-care, and the reason for that was because you wouldn't always find a teammate to heal you. You wouldn't find it all. Yeah. It's not just double heals, dude. Healing orgies are multiple people healing. So three people healing. Usually when you're camping a hook, you'll see 3 people just exchanging heals. People call it different things: double healing, cross healing, healing exchanges. But basically, it's a healing orgy is what I call it, because they'll just literally just go to some place in the map that's coordinated over voice comms. Once again, radio into HQ. We got to set up a triage tent here on the other side of the barn, and they'll just go pound each other. Because why wouldn't you when you're being super broken? But he doesn't talk about any of this shit. He literally just talks about him making misplays as a killer. Not what survivors are doing to make them incredibly powerful.
Just making your loss take a little bit longer. It's not really going to change much. And
yeah, no.
The people...
We could double the amount of time it would take on a generator. It wouldn't really change much, though, because, you just suck anyways. Why would you?
But it will affect are people that you were probably going to beat anyway, because they're just friends that just want to play together. And your changes really only affect...
And as we mentioned before, guys, I didn't talk about like an action debuff. That's what Tru is going about for SWF. I mentioned that they should reduce the number of perks based on the number of people in the squad. Asterisks to this being depending on your rank. So we said 2 for 2s, 1 for 3s, and 0 for 4 number of perks you get. And that would apply to red ranks. And then with purple ranks, it'd be +1 to every one of the tiers, and then green and higher doesn't matter. Because once you get high enough up, we can assume that they're just playing together. But you can assume reds. We had reds. We've seen people that are reds that play like greens, or even worse than that, they play like greens or worse, but they're highly coordinated. And depending on, like, they'll like, the ego that some people get, regardless of their skill, is sometimes pretty ridiculous in this game. Like, we have squads where we just wipe the whole squad and they end up slugs around a hook. And it's pretty funny because they think they can literally just come in and bully the killer. But when it comes down to, like, hook camping and people organizing a rescue train, right? You get a bunch of survivors that'll charge you all at the same time. Once again, a very good identifier that you're playing against a pre-made. You'll get a rescue squad just all charging at the same time. It comes down to managing when you take a hit on someone, and then whether or not you go for a grab. Grabs is very important when they charge a hook. And then whether or not they're going to body block you too. Like the best squads, what you'll have is you'll get someone that'll initiate. They take a hit. Their friend will go in for a save, and you'll have someone that'll body block you against the person that can't, like, is saving. So you can't hit the guy on the hook or pull them. And that's why at that point, basically, it comes down an awful lot to going after the guy that you hit initially or tunneling the guy that you just pulled off the hook. Yeah, so you either have to hit the guys on the hook or go after other people. It becomes much more complicated than just, oh, you're camping a hook. And you can play Cannibal, but as I mentioned, we can't play Shaper Cannibal because they're too good at hook camping. So you have to give people the idea that they're capable of actually saving someone from the hook. It goes well beyond, oh, just camping a hooker, or oh, this guy just really sucks. That's why SWF's powerful in this case. And
that played like that. Like, so I don't.
I hate when people sum up an entire game.
Where you think.
By the way, war, the concept of war, guys. I read this in Sun Tzu's book, by the way. War is all about the personal skill of a single warrior. True. It's true. Tactics and strategy do not matter. It is all about the singular skill of a warrior. It's all about capabilities of looping and anti-looping. It has nothing to do with tactics or strategy. That doesn't exist. We don't have entire millennia of war that taught us that tactics and strategy matter. It's literally about how well you fucking loop. That's what makes it broken, is the fact that you don't get tactics and strategy in solo survivors. You get them in coordinated, organized voice comm squads in SWF. Yeah. Because you literally have the information age battlefield commander swooping in and just coming in with his jets, flying the UAV around the fucking barnhouse, and it's a completely different game. And this guy's a fucking moron if he literally thinks the entire game just amounts to one person's personal skill in a match. And I'm just going to go straight out and say that because this is obnoxious to listen to this. This reminds me of just your people that just sit there and froth the keyboard. No, he's just really bad at the game. And we literally just talked like he's high-end coffee or something. We literally just talked about what makes it super powerful. Like what makes SWF super powerful. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't do a lot of credit to like where I've been talking about SWS because he talks about them, but he doesn't actually convey what makes him powerful. And maybe he would take a different tone on things if he actually better described these and what makes him powerful. But I think even Tru3's still trying to figure it out, which is unfortunate. And as I mentioned before, the brute force way of dealing with how powerful SWFs have become, specifically voice comm sweat squads have become, is by giving them an action debuff, which basically just makes it longer to do everything, right? And he keeps saying 10%. I don't know where the fuck he got 10% from. If you have a 4-man squad, I wouldn't be giving it. It'd be like a 50% debuff if we're talking about legitimately changing the flow of gameplay. He keeps talking about 10% because I think it's a nice small number where you can kind of discredit it. I don't know where you'd ever get 10% from, but he just made this number up and he keeps going back to it. So this is a straw man, by the way. That's a straw man argument where he's inferring that his 10% number is what he says. Therefore, his argument he's trying to force this guy, Tru, to take on is that he made a 10%. He's talking about a 10% action debuff. And he doesn't talk about 10%. He talks about gens, too. This guy keeps mentioning gen time. He keeps talking about gen time, where Tru is talking about action debuffs. So the longer to heal someone, the longer to open a box, the longer to use a med kit, the longer to do a generator, the longer to open a gate is an action debuff. This guy does not talk about that. So either he's a moron or he's trying to attempt some element of subterfuge here, which is that, oh, he's just talking about gens. He's 10% too. It's 10% on gens. He's just talking about gens too. 10% of a gen time, that's what was that? It's like an extra 12 seconds. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. But actually, as we saw, putting that aside, guys, as we saw while I was playing with, while we were playing with Monster Shrine, which is hilarious in and of itself, we have people that would time last second saves, and I'd leave early, and they go to save the guy, and the guy would die on the hook because they attempted to save him looking at the bar going down. They thought they had enough time to reach him and pull him off when they didn't because they had Monster Shrine. And Monster Shrine takes like 12 seconds off. I think it's 2 minutes on a hook. And Monster Shrine's like 9%, which we round up to 10%. $120 seconds. Yeah, so it's an additional 12 seconds. Yeah. It isn't. And he keeps inferring that this is what he said. That's not ad hominem. That's a straw man, by the way. A straw man involves you setting up a position and then you force the other person to take it on. It's a pretty asshole thing to do, by the way. A lot of people don't even know that they're doing it. So this guy, once again, could just be a moron and he doesn't realize he's doing this shit. But he's saying that this is what he's inferring the position that Tru has is 10% on specifically gen speed. And it's not. Tru talks about an action debuff, and I haven't heard him mention any numbers because numbers are arbitrary. It could be anything. It could be 100%. It could be 10%. But the idea is an action debuff to force survivors to take more time to do things that they're doing artificially faster because they're organized on voice comms. And as I mentioned before, I don't think that's a good way of balancing the game. It's a way of balancing. There's a lot of ways to balance the game. I don't think it's a good way of doing it, but you could do it that way. It's a brute force mechanic. As I mentioned before, I talked about perks, and he's talking about an action debuff. But perks, once again, you could say, oh, perks don't really matter that much. They just would take, no one takes intel perks if they're part of a super sweaty voice comm squad. Almost no one, unless their squad isn't really that great, then they'll see things like Spine Chill maybe pop up. And Spine Chill has a lot to do with also doing the generator while you're in the radius of the killer, which makes it go faster. Whenever the killer is looking in your direction with 36 meters, skill checks trigger odds are increased by 10%. Skill set checks success zones are reduced by 10%. Reaction speeds, repairing, healing, sabotaging, vaulting, and cleansing are 6%. So it's not just something that shows you where like the killer's looking. It also gives you a buff. So it's not just that. There's a double whammy to that guy. But once again, if you're in a sweat squad, and if you're in reds and you get 0 perks because you're in a 4-man, that means you can't do stupid shit like For the People. That means you can't do stupid shit like Prove Thyself. Doesn't mean you can do stupid shit like a Plunder perk build. Yeah, it actually whittles down your options. So if someone's in a SWF sweat squad, a voice comm sweat squad, and they're highly coordinated, they aren't going to take any intel perks, and so they have all the intel perks in the game on all the time, and most perks in the game will only show you information for temporary periods of time. But in an intel or in a voice comm sweat squad, guys, you have those on all the time because someone is going to tell you what's happening in the game, and you'll be able to know where survivors are. You'll be able to know where the gens are, which is also a problem, by the way. There's perks for finding gens. You'll be able to know where gens are. You'll be able to know where exit gates are if you didn't look. You'll be able to know where the hatch is. That's a very popular one. We encountered that quite a bit during the key extravaganza, where we got people in the 3 gens, and literally we got a 2-man squad that's basically in a 3 gen that refused to play, and they'd creep around the map till they found a chest and a key, and they both escaped at the same time. You can organize escapes. You can organize your healing orgies. You can organize health state changes, which we've talked about before, around the corner. Yeah, it's pretty much limitless, and it bugs me that this guy, I guess this is a voice of the community once again, very weird community. It's always felt like Dead by Daylight. It's kind of this weird niche. I guess this is a big guy in the community. I don't know. I don't watch his streams, so. And Tru, as I mentioned before, I don't agree with everything Tru says, and he does have a fucking ego, but he also is pretty smart and also generally on the right track with things. As I mentioned, this kind of stems, going back and forth between Killer and Survivor here stems from the idea that Killer innately is overpowered because he kills people. And it's a stupid way of approaching arguments. It's a very stupid way of approaching arguments. And I think that's a lot of the way that the community approaches things because they think that Killer's like innately OP because he kills stuff, right? And Survivor is always the ones running away. So they're the victim. You have the aggressor and you have the victim, right? But this is a video game. That's not the way games are balanced. So
I think that's actually going to fix anything because, like, here's a perfect example where that additional 40 seconds would not have mattered. So the reason you lost this game is not because of Survive with Friends. The reason you lost this game is because, yeah, you made a couple mistakes. That's one thing, but you got kind of a bad map layout.
I mean, he literally just chalked this up as of just being mistakes that he's making. Now he's talking about other things. So.
And you're playing Plague, and they're very good. They were a very good team. This is the scariest thing, and that's one thing. The reason you lost this game is not because of Survive with Friends. The reason you lost this game is because...
The reason you lost this game isn't because of Survivor Friends.
Yeah, you made a couple mistakes. That's one thing, but you got kind of a bad map layout, and you're playing Plague, and they're very good.
So would being very good in very good in Dead by Daylight relate to you being an SWF, guys? No, your personal performance in the game has nothing to do with your team. No, I mean, look how big his eyeballs are. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about. No. By the way, that's attacking character.
They were a very good team. This is the scariest thing in the game.
Nothing to do with them being in a coordinated squad. Nothing at all. Just they're very good.
I mean, not Survivor. I couldn't give less of a shit about Survivor.
I did not lose the house to a tornado, but to very strong winds. Yeah, exactly that. This is pretty obnoxious. I was listening to this. This is back. Because I've been at work, guys. Well, I've been working on a bunch of stuff while I've been offline, which is why I haven't been streaming. As I told you guys, if you want to know more about that, beginning of yesterday's stream, we talked a bit about that. But this all happened while I was offline, which is unfortunate because I have a little bit to say about this. And yeah, as it turns out, just kind of behind the times. This happened a couple days ago. Yeah, this is on the 3rd already. And I was watching his stream the other day. It's something to watch in the morning. I was watching his stream, and basically just a bunch of people just coming in and just basically parodying what he's saying. This guy doesn't even have arguments. He's literally just saying, no, you're bad. This is literally this guy's argument. Counter to him is, no, you're bad. These guys good. Nothing to do with them being a pre-made. But bad, good, no SWF, obviously.
With friends.
As I mentioned before, guys, I'm going to reiterate my stat here. We've had all of 2 groups admit that they were in an SWF and 1 was drunk over the months that we've played. And we've went against plenty of SWFs. And none of those SWFs, any of them even acknowledge voice comms. No one uses voice comms in Dead by Daylight. In 2021, people do not know how to use Discord. Yeah, my favorite one, by the way, is when you're talking to people and they assert that there's no way they could talk to them because they're on council. Yeah. I like to introduce your guys to my friend here. It's called a phone. I know this is going to blow your minds. You can even download Discord on your phone. I'm just going to throw this out here. You can put Discord on your phone, and you can talk to people on Discord through your phone. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just going to throw that out there, guys. Just mind-blowing, but yeah, it's the same thing with, we've had people try to convince me that they couldn't squad together because people were cross-platform. We've had people, we can't be together because we aren't on each other's friends lists. That's a pretty good one, by the way. You can add people through the game. You don't need to use Steam. You can add people through the game. It has nothing to do with Steam. You can add people through Steam, but you don't need to do that. Oh, did I dislike it?
9 times out of 10, they're not even good at the game. They're just friends having fun. These guys...
and once again, it depends on the time of day you're playing against people. We've talked about this before. I used to watch Tru3. He's changed his tone quite a bit since we started playing the game, and I do wonder if it has a lot to do with me hook camping, because we've been pretty liberal with hook camping these past couple months, and we've gotten pretty good at it. We still run into games where we get shit on. It's usually once again by those purples, like the high-level purples, which are people you think you wouldn't shit on you. It's a high-level coordinated purple squads that usually shit on me. But, yeah. Very, very different.
We're a survivor with friends. I don't know if they were in comms or not, but they were all individually good survivors. That's what I fear the most. No weak.
That doesn't make survivors good, by the way. Individually, we've talked about this before when I was talking about the rank of people. You can obviously have some really good loopers, but you can always find the weakest link and go after it. But that's not really what makes squads scary. What makes them scary is when they're highly coordinated, where you run into people that body block and cuck your chases, where you have people that act the worst squads. These are the ones that are super frustrating to tell, like I've mentioned before. The super frustrating squads that will never happen unless people are cheating, never happen, is where you'll only see the looper, and he'll try to do obvious shit, and they'll just go and run off and do a generator. And whenever you go over to any of the other generators that are currently being worked on, they'll either be gone, and there'll be no indication of where someone is, and you can spend time checking lockers, you'll never find them. Or you'll find scratch marks, but they're very faint, basically almost gone, and they usually go to a fence, and then they'll disappear. They start walking at that point, and there's no way to find them. And they make callouts. They radio in, guys. They radio into HQ. Imagine replacing this fictitious device in my hand here with a phone. They radio into HQ here, and they tell their friends that the killer's coming over to them and that he's going to their gen. You should hide. Now let's imagine what that does in terms of gameplay. It changes a lot. It really does. And those are usually the really sweaty games with they'll try to hide their carries or queens. Queens are really great if you find them because usually they'll make the entire team suicide to try and save her, which is hilarious. But most games, you'll have carries in them. And the carries are people, that don't perform very well. And then the loopers will try to protect the carries. So they'll try to take protection hits. They'll try and do distraction plays. They'll try and do replacement scratch marks. They'll do everything to get your attention, all the while if you're ignoring the looper isn't doing gens and therefore is waste of space. It literally just comes back to time and what they're doing in the game and the flow of the game.
Blanks equals you're pretty fucked if you're not like a nurse or spirit, and that's a shitty feeling. But here's the most important part, I think, of this whole video that really hammers in my point. Yeah, you lost because this is pretty unfair. But the thing is, it had nothing to do with Survive with Friends. I watched this VOD several times. I checked
several. That's a weasel word, by the way. Several can be anything from 2 to 100. Whenever anyone uses several, they're usually full of shit.
Thing that happened, every chase, I analyzed everything
People
that
love
happened in it.
He analyzed everything, guys.
Not a single time in this entire match was there one thing that Survive with Friends gave them an advantage with. Like, think about it. What does Survive with Friends give you an advantage with? Well, it lets you know, like, you can share the killer's perks. You can let you know who dropped which pallets where, which areas.
That's also important, by the way. We'll have people that weren't part of a chase that'll literally have their friends go back through the area that have dropped pallets in that we didn't break, and then they'll run the pallets. I didn't mention that. That's also something that they do. Once again, I have a compilation of this shit on Reddit, on a Reddit post, guys. Yeah, they do that. That's really fucking annoying to deal with because literally it just punishes you again for not breaking pallets, which is once again why, depending on the time of day I'm playing, guys, using something like not Unbreakable, Brutal Strength is important because it's not just 20%. It's not linear. Once again, it allows you to get in a position to intercept someone much faster when they go into another loop. And that 20% turns into a logarithmic equation in terms of power.
Are dead zones. People are on the hook. You can send, hey, you go save. I'm going to work on gens. You can be more efficient by doing that. So you can keep people,
getting there.
Only one goes to save because that's a common problem in solo queue. You have a lot of people going for save, miscommunication, things like that.
Which is why Kindred's very important when you're in solo. We run Kindred in solo.
Friends, you can communicate all that, right?
There's a lot more that we just talked about that he's not talking about right here.
None of that mattered this game. You basically chased two people this whole game.
So he's starting to get there, but once again, he's just going back to a cherry-picked example, and therefore every example that Tru offers with SWF is wrong, because they can't be powerful because of these two games that he just analyzed. He went through several times and analyzed all the footage from these games, therefore all the games are that way. And that's not true at all. This is why, I was going to look up the word for you guys. I have it in my phone. I just remembered I have it in my phone. I have a word app. Very good word. There's a name for this now where people go back through like on a forum post and they will cherry pick individual parts of your post and make like one-line responses to it, and then expect you to make like you're trying to make like an argument and a rebuttal of something, and then they go back through and just cherry pick individual parts. It's super fucking annoying. Let's see. Fisking. It's called fisking. A rebuttal to an article or blog made by quoting its contents in sections and refuting each section individually. That's usually sentence by sentence basis. So what he's doing right now is fisking, and instead of attacking, he did it for a little bit. He was talking about the overall problem with survivors, but instead he keeps going back to this one particular game. I don't know why he thinks that this one particular game representative of all SWF games that he plays. And that's kind of disingenuous, but that's what's going on here.
Perks were already known. Totems being spotted by people didn't matter because, as you saw earlier, your rune spawned, unfortunately.
So, this is a problem. We've talked this before. I can't run rune. And I've mentioned before that how long your rune lasts for, I mean, there's an RNG element to it, but how long your rune lasts for depends on how good the survivors are. And basically, we can't run rune at my hours of the day because it blows up within the first generator. It does nothing. It does absolutely fucking nothing. And then basically we're down a perk and it doesn't matter at all. I don't even run rune anymore. I can't run rune. It was like 4 out of 5 games. It blow up prematurely and do absolutely nothing. That's a lot of downtime. That's a lot of fucking downtime. And even Tru is like kind of hooked on it. Like rune is an awful lot like it's very addicting because it allows you a lot of leeway in chases. They definitely need to change how generator regression happens. Like it doesn't need to be 200%, which is rune, but they can make it so it ramps up to like 100% regression if no one's on the gen. If no one's on the gen for like 10 seconds, it'll slowly ramp up over like 30 seconds or something. Arbitrary numbers. 30 seconds to 100% regression speed, and then Rune adds an additional 100% on top of that, so it's 200% regression speed. There you go. But Rune is very addicting because you don't have to spend time popping gens. Popping gens is very, very debilitating. It's a long process, and once again, good SWFs will counter that because they'll have someone that'll immediately run and tap it. Someone that you're in a chase with will go, oh, someone touched my gen, it's almost done, man. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, you just have someone that comes around that's not even part of the chase or the initial gen, come over and tap the gen or finish it. Because they know, and they don't even need to have intel perks, they know over voice comms. And he's not talking about this shit.
Right on top of the generator, so that's just bad map design, which I'll agree with you all day about. So that didn't matter. Your perks were, I mean, people can know what your perks are. They can see Thanatophobia as soon as someone's injured. They know you have Corrupt. They know you had Rune because they can see it as soon as they get off a gen.
I hate
The only
Corrupt.
one they don't know about is Pop, but you don't really hook anybody, so Pop doesn't matter. So communicating your perks didn't matter. There was no Survive with Friends benefit this entire match. There was no pallet call out because like 2 pallets were used the entire match. Nothing actually benefited them from having communication this entire match. So I don't know why you want to take out your, balancing rage on this type of shit. And I think this is a huge
So once again, he's equating an overall balancing design decision that Tru made in regards to all games to this one game, or these 2 games in this case, that he went over with a comb, and therefore all the games that Tru plays are like this. This is, like I said, this is a pretty disingenuous way. Cherry picking is a very disingenuous way of arguing stuff.
problem.
You can make a point of this stuff, right? Because it's important to note outliers, but it's also important to note what outliers are and when they aren't representative of a trend in the community.
A lot of killers do this too. It's not just you. It's a lot of people. They will say, I lost.
And instead of trying to attempt to do this and then just complaining about it, we've just changed how I play, which is hook camping. And then we'll kill 2 people. They'll get out, but they'll be super fucking salty. It has nothing to do with BMing them as much as it has to do with balancing the scales of justice, balancing the scales of BM guys at the end of the game. Who can bitch at who? And when people are super salty and just raging about you hook camping, that's not really the same with them just saying you bad because you only hooked 1 person or 0. Like, you got 0 kills, not hooks. You got 0 kills at the end of the game, and them just teabagging you at the end of the game. Very different. So we just went along with what the community is doing and how they interact with you, and it seems to work out for me. And we've had people start rage cheating because of that too. We've talked about that. We've had people start rage cheating because I've hook camped. Yeah, twice actually. And they'll say, we started cheating because of your hook camping. Obviously, they wouldn't have cheated before then, right? Because obviously, we've talked about the most detrimental people in the community are not, like, cheaters in the community are not the rage cheaters, aren't people flying around, stunning you for 60 seconds, which is a thing. It's not the people flying around, stunning you for 60 seconds out of a locker. It's literally the guy that's running at, like, 104 to 106% movement speed and has ESP on, so you can see where all the pallets... It's basically like having a wall hack for windows of opportunity, and they won't have windows. And it's always on, because Windows actually has a cooldown of 20 seconds, so, yeah.
With friends, when if you really analyze what happened...
They'll always just go into a loop, guys, and if you actually try to mind game them, you can't mind game at all. That's what makes it even more infuriating. You try to mind game them, and they'll just exit the loop the opposite direction, you waste a bunch of time. And they'll go to the next loop.
It had nothing to do with Survive with Friends. It had everything to do with the fact that you were on not a great map with Plague, and they were all very good survivors. Their communication was irrelevant. They didn't have to communicate a single thing here because you didn't actually hook anybody. There was no, hey, I'm going to go save. None of that stuff. None of it mattered.
Which, by the way, is why I mentioned before, like, Hexy, in cases like this, Hexy will actually hook camp, and he'll actually talk about it being kind of a fair thing. He'll talk about it being gen rushing, which I guess is it's what the survivors have to do, and if they're really efficient, it turns into, it's basically what they have to do, right? But it scales up, and he calls it gen rushing. Well, basically just amounts to people being really good or really organized, more or less really organized in the game. And then he'll actually start playing in a way that will actually allow him to win. That's another thing. Like, Tru will stick to his guns, and he just, gens just went too fast this match, guys. Or, it's the SWF. Where Hexy will actually start hook camping at the end of the day because you have to. You have to do that to deal with squads like this. There's no other way of playing. It doesn't work.
In this scenario, Survive with Friends doesn't matter. You were just going to lose anyway because they're just 4 very good players. You're playing not a super great killer, and you made a lot of mistakes.
Is this the same footage over and over again?
That's why I think trying to make everyone else's games worse, it's not only will it not fix anything, it'll just...
I've had a lot of people talk about slugging as being a counter to SWF. I don't think it is. So, if you're playing, not SWF, but like a highly coordinated esports squad, like a highly coordinated sweat squad, voice comm sweat squad, it's not really a counter to that because you'll have people that will note the downstate of someone on the ground, and then they'll have the friend immediately come over and pick them up the moment that they're ready to get off the ground. So slugging doesn't even work in that example, which is why it has to come down to hook camp, because that's where you can really make plays. If you slug people, and then they can slither to the middle of nowhere and you won't find them either. And there's all sorts of weird shit, not just Iron Will, but then people have sound bugs too where you can't hear them at all when they're on the ground. Sometimes it turns into slugging. It depends on what happens. Usually what goes on now is I'll eliminate someone in the match, and then we'll start playing kind of in a more normal way. We'll play a little safer, and then we'll start getting a little bit more risky the way the match is going out. So we'll start applying more and more positive pressure to the map. Instead of being defensive, we'll go aggressive and offensive. It changes the flow drastically. Because once again, 4 people, if you have 2 people that are really good loopers, and like the weird thing is, like when we talked about this before, where you have an SWF, you'll have one guy that's a looper, right? And then you'll have like everyone else you think is a carry. But what actually happens in some of the games is when this guy notices that you're not paying attention to him, they have an auxiliary looper that will take your attention. Like they'll act like they're like they're a carry. They'll act like they're a carry. So you'll have an auxiliary looper that will kind of act like they're a carry, but not really. And then you'll end up in a chase with another looper and you won't even know it. Yeah. And that's, once
Just
again,
make
very difficult to
everything
deal
worse
with.
for everybody. Like, I don't know what the point of it is. And
Balancing
I think
the game?
buffing solo queue is
Very nihilist.
the better idea.
What's the point, man? What's the point? That's my favorite thing, by the way. What's the point in life? Why are we even here? What's the point of balancing this game? It wouldn't matter anyways. God, does life even matter at this point, guys? I don't think it does. What's the point, man? I mean, at that case, you could say, what's the point of you arguing against anyone that says, I don't care, or what's the point? Why are you arguing this, right? You can tell immediately that he cares that there is a point, because otherwise he wouldn't have made this fucking video that's 14 minutes long, basically analyzing and breaking down his cherry-picked gameplay.
Because solo queue is the weakest thing in the game. At least in my opinion, that's solo queue can be rough. Introducing like a ping system for solo queue would be great.
No.
And then in doing
That's
that,
what they could, but that's what the perks are for. So, yeah, like, why do you, like, the game's balanced around solo survivors? Why would you then assume that they should be made more powerful, right? It's very rough because that also depends on the kind of survivors you're getting, which once again goes to why SWFs are so powerful, because you can assure a certain level of competitiveness or performance out of the survivors that are in your group, because you know them, you know what they're capable of, right? And then furthermore than that, personal skill doesn't even matter that much. As we talked about with the perpendicular generator scenario, we've had squads that are like red rank, and you'll just get one person that will just run W key across the map away from the, like, if you can imagine a best fit line of generators on the map, like statistically, best fit line of generators, they'll run directly away from here in a way that puts as much distance as humanly possible between you and the guys that are working gens. For you to hook them across the map, they'll even run to a corner, it doesn't matter. They'll run to a corner themselves, you'll down them, and you'll have their friends just pounding gens across the map from them because they were organized and ready to get on gens the moment they left. That's why I have a tether distance, for instance, oftentimes to generators, because if I feel like someone's basically trying to kite me across the map, I'm not going to do that, because the objective isn't necessarily like completely kill survivors. You have to remember that you have to keep the generators from being powered, or they can just escape, right? And putting aside the hatch, which hatch is dumb, but not completely dumb, but dumb in a lot of ways. Yeah, like they just try to get under your skin and get you away from people. Like, that's my favorite one too, is like where they try to antagonize you. Like, we talked about flashlight clickers being a waste of space, and it's not just because they make you angry. I've dealt with that by learning that they're just basically, they don't do anything. They just click their flashlight and they aren't working gens. They'll sit there and stare at you and point. But what that means, they aren't mouse wanting a gen, so it's literally like a debuff. It's like putting a survivor in stasis by them trying to antagonize you. It's actually a win for you. Just like the hook camper, or the people that suicide on the hook. People that suicide on the hook are a win for you too, because that means you don't have to sit there and camp the hook. Or people that DC, like, hurts them much more than it hurts you. I love DCers. Hurts them much more than they hurt you, and especially ones where we've had people fuck up on a hatch DC. Like, they've tried to hatch DC, and like, we still killed the guy before they got to hatch.
you can let killers know, like, who's in a group, so the killer can react accordingly. They can they can be a bit sweatier. They might slug more. They might put on NOED or better add-ons. They can have some information, because getting a 4-man survive with friends is not so bad, but when you're unprepared for it, then it can feel really, really bad. But
it is.
then,
the game literally just comes down to BM. I've mentioned this before. It's what the game is. It's not about points. It's not about rank. It's not about hooks. It's literally about BM at the end of the game, guys. It's literally about whether or not you can be BM'd or BM someone else. When you have a bunch of survivors acting like hot shit when they weren't remotely good at looping, just jacking off on each other at the end of the match, and then on you, yeah, just no. And once again, it's not so much skill. It's not personal skill. It comes down to coordination and organization over voice comms. Being able to efficiently, when they talk about efficiency on gens, guys, that relates an awful lot to communicating where the killer is, where you are, what the state is of the generator, so people can go and finish the generator, which is voice comms.
A lot of the time, it has nothing to do with the fact they're survive with friends. It's the fact that a lot of the time, or some of the time, they're just good survivors. For good survivors, that is scary. That's rough. In this scenario,
they don't even need to be good.
Most other
I mentioned before, if you play super sweaty voice comms, it basically raises the color of your rank by like 1 to 2. So if you're greens and you're playing a sweaty voice comm, you're probably going to equalize at 4 to 5. And personal skill wise, like, we've encountered some pretty bad survivors that are just highly coordinated, and they'll finish a lot of the generators. But They don't have skill to actually last in chases, or they make stupid plays off hooks. They'll make dumb plays for hooks, and it basically gets them killed.
Scenarios, it's not Survive with Friends. I see so many times people like complain about Survive with Friends, and then you check the actual video, and they just chase one guy the entire match as if their 3 teammates have any impact on anything that he's communicating. It doesn't matter. And I think that's the main thing that you're missing. You think every time, not every time, a lot of the time when you lose, it's because the comms and stuff like that, but it doesn't fucking matter.
Hey, he said the word. That's the first time in this video he's mentioned voice comms.
You didn't play well, it was a bad map, and they're really good. That's it. And you're not playing a really great killer. So that's, I guess the main thing I wanted to talk about. Certainly very ranty. I totally, if you would like to discuss things on your, I'll even come on your stream. I'll go in the bullpen. I'm totally okay with that. That's fine.
Give me publicity, guys. Put me on your stream. I want publicity. Publicity. Put me on your stream. Put me on your stream. I want publicity.
I don't know.
And then also you have to think about outside argument. You have to think about the meta of this too, which is not even relating to the discussion here. It rather is just getting more viewership and more publicity.
A lot of stuff. I think that way of fixing Survive with Friends is a really, really bad idea. It seems like most people agree it's not a good idea, which is good.
It'd be boring. As I mentioned before, like, it makes sense. It's not really a great idea in that it wouldn't do what it's designed to do, but rather it would make the game very monotonous. It would make it very boring because you just sit there and mouse one to gen for an inordinately long period of time without doing anything, right?
But
which is why I suggest getting rid of perks.
Again, I don't know if you'll ever watch this, but I think people that have the same mindset could benefit from this, and that's really it. I just want, I don't know.
And what bugs me, by the way, is that he refuses to hook camp in the scenario. One of the cases where you can actually really see that people are in an SWF or a voice comm squad is when you hook camp. Because you'll see rescue trains, guys, and rescue trains are something to behold. Because it's not something that normally happens in solo games. If you've played solo games, it's not something that normally happens. And then you'll see them start getting higher level where they start trying to make distraction plays, and that's where Noah really comes out and shines. And they get ultra pissy about that. They try to make distraction plays, or they'll have someone body block for someone to get off the hook so they can't be pulled. Oh, it gets so good. We have a lot. I'm going to keep highlighting that shit because it's fucking fantastic when it happens. But like, they'll try to make like hardcore plays and then usually fuck up. But sometimes they don't. But usually you'll still get a one person down out of it. But like, when you see a 3-man rescue train coming, yeah, that's not solo gameplay. And I don't know why this guy seems to assume that solos are the same thing as SWF, because it's not. Voice comm squads, excuse me. Hardcore voice comm squads, because it's not. Organization and coordination, strategy and tactics are not something you can get from someone sitting in their own mind. You can try and do it, you can try and work around what information is available to you, but when you get an overview of the entire battlefield, it completely changes how you deal with it, and that's why voice comms are so OP in this game.
Playing a lot, but
the perks that you get that actually allow you to see that are only momentary. Most of the perks that you see stuff, Kindred's probably one of the best perks in the game, is only momentary information.
It's usually
and even then, you don't know what's inside someone's head. You aren't actually coordinating with them. You can only work around what information you're seeing, right? So you could potentially not go for a hook where 2 people are going for it. We've talked about this before. Like, when you're in Souls, one of the most important things to do is being a gen nanny. So someone doing gens while everyone's trying to constantly attempt hooks, because they want to be in the limelight, doing gens is still really important. So if there's 2 people going for hooks and no one's doing gens, you just sit there and do the gens. This Kindred is very powerful. And I don't know why it wasn't used for a long time, but it's a very powerful perk. And after I found Kindred, I was using Dark Sense for a bit, and then when I found Kindred, and there's no point in running anything else. It works extremely well.
Bugs and things like that. I don't complain about the community like at all. It's just the bugs and stuff like that, which are typically frustrating. And
bugs are a low-hanging fruit. Anyone can complain about bugs, by the way. That's not like game balance. Bugs are bugs. You go, oh, it's a bug. I go bug report because they're common and they can be fixed, but it doesn't represent game balance, and generally not that. I mean, bugs can ruin fun in a game, right? But they only ruin fun up to a certain point. Like, they have to be really game-breaking bugs for it just to completely wreck the game.
So much common ground on like map design being a lot of the reasons that you lose with some of these matches, because you give survivors good setups, and man, if you're not a good killer, it's rough. But basically, none of this has to do with Survive with Friends, and I think that's the main point I wanted to make. So that's it.
These 2 games that he just watched, guys, is surmised all of Tru3's gameplay and all of his games and every killer's games ever as being SWF. Yeah, it's not good. Like, we've talked about this. We went over. He even touched on it. Only for it was 10 seconds. This entire this montage here was basically him just bitching about Tru3's gameplay. And for 10 seconds, he commented on the things that really mattered the most, which is the actual coordination and organized gameplay that survivors do that really fucks things up. And then also voice comms. He said voice comms once this entire match and never explained why they make the game so powerful. One time. I mentioned it when it happened. One time he mentioned comms. That's it. Just one time. And then he mentioned that because it wasn't highly coordinated, I didn't go through and watch this footage, and I'm not going to, because it's a huge waste of time, and like the overall argument isn't just picking apart this one singular game. Rather, it is, the meta. It's everything put together. It's the overall Survivor game and how powerful voice comms adds to the game, right?
That's it. Rant over. Yeah, take it easy, guys.
Oh, there's a response. 274 replies. Does he use paragraphs? He doesn't use paragraphs. Yeah, we talk about elements. It's not just one thing, by the way, that usually makes up SWFs. It's multiple things put together is when you start sussing out that they're part of a voice comm sweat squad. I can't say SWF because it's not an SWF. It's voice comm sweat squads are the ones that were in the game. SWF isn't just the comms, it's joining force stronger. I mean, that's what comms do. Four-man got together, though. A lot of time Dead by Daylight is balanced by having one or two weak links. It's balanced because they can't coordinate and organize with each other, which is voice comms. Keep saying comms. I'm going to keep saying comms. Buffy and Solo at SWF, I don't see possible addressing SWF. Yeah, I agree with that. Lastly, where are these variables he got saying exactly X seconds? I mentioned that before. That's a straw man. He literally just made that up. And then he implied that that's Tru3's position. You seem so certain on these imaginary times. Yep. Well, at least you figured that out. That's a straw man. You'll get loads of props because you're defending SWF. Yeah. We talked about that too, how it's pandering to the community, and the community doesn't see a problem with 3,000 viewer streamers being in four-man sweat squads. So, yeah. You do get upvotes for that. Trying to figure out how to balance it more. I'd agree with that. I don't get why talking about rebalancing SWS is so taboo because it's literally.
Got a shot.
You have a response video? Oh. Are they gonna dick slap back and forth? They're all like 3,000 view videos. Yeah, nope. Okay. Enough of that, guys. We talked about that for like 2 hours. Good. Good for us. An hour and 45 minutes. That's a very in-depth issue, guys. That video basically amounted to character assassination. They're just coming after Tru. Wanted his bread. And then his reputation and his viewership. Good. Pandering and posturing. Good. Okay. Yeah, basically everything in the video was ad hominems with a couple name calling mixed in there. What's what it amounted to, and there's some strawmans. Strawmans are very important, guys. You should know when people are making strawmans. Posturing, strawmans, and what's the other one? Subterfuge are all really important. Very important things with online arguments. People do it all the time. They do it in real life arguments. They do it all over the place. Just arguments in general. Debate. Especially strawmans, because strawmans are actually one of those things, if you don't realize what a strawman is, guys, where they try to replace your argument or make you take on a position that doesn't necessarily represent what you're talking about, or make someone else take on a position that they aren't good at defending, it can drastically change the tone of an argument. because you could end up defending something that you don't necessarily agree with, and there might even be, because you basically haven't vetted it, there might be some things in that argument that can be catch-alls. There's some things that are like, oh, it sounds like kind of a good idea, but then you realize it's not. Strawmans are incredibly important for understanding arguments and why they're broken. It's a good tactic, because people that aren't smart usually don't realize when this happens. It's very hard to notice, and as I mentioned before, it's not necessarily always conscious. Some people will subconsciously do this because it's a tactic of winning an argument, and then they don't realize that they're actually doing it. As we mentioned before, strawman there's a couple of them in there, but the strawman, the last one was that Tru made up a 10% argument that the position was he'd have a 10% generator regression buff, and it wasn't. He talked about action debuff, and he didn't mention a time on it. So he made an artificial position that Tru was arguing for a 10% generator nerf, like gen speed nerf. And he didn't mention regression either. He's just like gen speed. So I guess the amount of time it'd take to do the gen and then regress the same speed. I don't know, because he didn't stipulate that. Just a 10% generator nerf. So, very important. Strawmans are extremely important. It actually is like one of the first terms that I learned. It bugged me because I couldn't figure out what people were doing. This is like in my 20s. I couldn't figure out what people were doing in an argument, but it ended up one of these things where I ended up arguing stuff that I didn't really believe in, and I couldn't figure out how it was happening. It's really weird because some people are really crafty about it. And the way you deal with stuff like this is you call it out and say, no, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not my position. Or that's a straw man. You can just go up and straight, that's a straw man. But then people go, oh, you're using fallacy terms. You're a bad person. But you just say, no, that's not my position. Or no, that's not what I said. No, that's not what I meant. No. You literally just confront the lie and say that's not what you said at all. And then if they just sit there and jack off on you because they stick to their guns, you just go back and point at earlier parts in the conversation. A lot of people will pretend that the earlier parts of the conversation don't even exist anymore because it's so far back. So like if you're in an online argument in a chat room, if it's too far up, sometimes they'll scroll off the screen and then you can't see it anymore. Or you have to spend an inordinate, sometimes there's another term for this, where you have to spend an inordinate amount of time basically just trying to prove stuff you're talking about. Like people make you spend time on like common sense stuff or stuff that they can't remember. And usually I'll just eventually call them a dullard. If they keep forgetting parts of the conversation, I'll just make them feel inferior to me. Works pretty well because you can prove it. And sometimes people forget, you're like, all right, but when it starts happening over and over again, like it just turns into one of these things where I'm like, you're a moron. You can't even remember what you're talking about or what I'm talking about. You're not worth my time. And then that's a pretty good way of ending an argument because even if they were intentionally doing it, they're going to feel really bad about it because they definitely lost on a different level. And if they were unintentionally doing it, then maybe they should actually work on remembering things that they're talking about. So, yeah, there's a lot of different ways of dealing with strawmans, though. But yeah, that wasn't particularly a strawman. There's a term for it. Fisking was the other one. We're in hop. Magnanimous. That's a good one. Minutia? No. Sea lining. To intrude on a conversation with the disingenuous questions in an attempt to engage in an unwanted debate as a form of harassment. Yes. So you'll start asking rhetorical questions or make them continually respond to stuff that doesn't matter. Yeah, catch you later, Hop. Anyways, guys, let's move on here. Good 2 hours. Ooh, that was a steamy 2 hours, guys. I liked it.